Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 16th, 2021 meeting of the Pacifica Planning Commission. This is a kind of an unusual Tuesday night meeting in light of yesterday's President's Day holiday. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and read some stuff that pertains to the current state of emergency that we're in. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2520 and N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act, and pursuant to the orders of the Health Officer of San Mateo County. And as this meeting is necessary so that the city can conduct necessary business, it is permitted under the orders as an essential government function. Commissioners, the Assistant City Attorney, and city staff essential to this meeting will be video teleconferencing into the meeting, and there will be no physical locations open to the public. The public can observe the meeting while sheltering at home via the Zoom link as the primary means of participation, or via the cable news channel 26 or live stream broadcasts as alternate methods of viewing the meeting. Participation via the Zoom link will enable the meeting to be observed live and will enable the public to speak during public comment periods. The Zoom link was published in the meeting agenda. Live public comments are being accepted at this meeting in place of emailed public comments. Public comments may be provided live by members of the public utilizing the Zoom link to participate in the meeting. Utilize the raise hand function in the Zoom application on a computer, smartphone, or a tablet, or else enter *9 to raise your hand if you're dialing in by phone. Please ensure your name is correctly entered in your Zoom profile so the city staff may properly identify you when it is your turn to speak. Those dialing in by phone will be called to speak by the last 4 digits of their phone number as shown in the Zoom interface. So that's the kind of the preliminaries there that we have been sort of sharing with the public as we go into these meetings over the course of the last many months. We'll move then to a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Berman.
Present.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Present.
Commissioner Godwin.
Present.
Commissioner Hauser.
Present.
Commissioner Leal.
Present.
Commissioner Niblin.
Here. Thank you. We'll then move to the salute to the flag. I'll ask Commissioner Hauser to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hauser. We'll move then to administrative business, and we'll start with the approval of the order of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the order of the agenda? Commissioner Berman.
I move that we approve the order of agenda.
Thank you. So I've got a motion to approve the order of agenda. Is there someone who will second that motion, please? Commissioner Godwin.
I second the motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second to approve the order of agenda. Could we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Berman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Godwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Leal.
Yes.
Commissioner Niblin.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We'll then move to approval of minutes. We have in our packets the minutes for our meeting of January 19th, 2021. Is there any comment on the minutes, or is there a motion to approve them? Commissioner Godwin.
I move we approve the minutes as written.
Excellent. So that's the motion. Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Ferguson.
I'll second that motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our January 19th, 2021 meeting. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Berman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Godwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Leal.
Yes.
And Commissioner Niblin.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next order under administrative business, the next matter under administrative business is designation of liaison to the city council meeting. I see none as required. Is that still the case?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move to oral communications. And this is the portion of the agenda that's available to the public to address the Planning Commission on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda. The time allowed for any speaker will be 3 minutes. I'll ask now if there's any member of the public who wishes to address the commission under oral communication. Mr. Murdoch, you'll let us know if there are any hands.
Yes, one hand just went up, and now there are two, and perhaps there'll be more. So I'll get set up for public comment, and then we'll begin with Judy Hanson and then Marjorie Lovell in just a moment.
Thank you. It looks like we're ready for Ms. Hanson. Ms. Hanson, are you ready to proceed? Ms. Hanson, if you're ready, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
I sure can. Please go ahead.
And I'm so sorry. This is my first time doing this. And I was here about the church in the back of the valley, and I'm sorry if I've raised my hand too early in the meeting.
Well, ma'am, we're actually going to take comment on that matter a little bit later in the meeting. Are you able to hang on for a little bit until we get to that item?
Yes, okay. For sure.
We'll go ahead and take your comment at that time. Thank you.
Okay, my apologies and thank you.
Yep.
All right, next we have Marjorie Lovell.
Please, Ms. Lovell, go ahead.
Yes, I actually also was going to speak against the granting the temporary permit to the church at the back of the valley. I have very profound concerns about that approval, and I definitely hope to address it later in the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, I will ask if there's anybody else who wants to address the Planning Commission on matters that are not on the agenda this evening.
I see no additional hands raised at this time, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead then and leave oral communications and move on to, I guess, consent items, and I'll confirm that we don't have any consent items.
Correct.
Great, and we'll go then to continued public hearings. And the first continued public hearing is related to Amendment CAP 818, which is file number 2020-020, which is an amendment to Cannabis Activity Permit CAP 818 to modify requirements of resolution number 2019-031 of the Planning Commission of the City of Pacifica related to the timing requirements for first floor storefront window modifications and payment of outstanding and applicable processing fees related to the same CAP in relation to an existing cannabis retail operation approved in 2019 for retail sale of adult use and medicinal cannabis at 450 Dundee Way, Suite 2 in Pacifica. The recommended CEQA action is a Class 1 categorical exemption pursuant to 15301 of the CEQA guidelines. And staff's recommendation is that we approve the requested amendments. So I'll go ahead and ask for a staff report.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I am Associate Planner Bonnie O'Connor. Tonight I am presenting to you proposed amendments to 2 conditions of approval associated with Planning Commission Resolution 2019-031. This resolution conditionally approved on September 16, 2019, the cannabis activity permit for a cannabis retail operation for adult use and medicinal cannabis sales at 450 Dundee Way, Suite 2, otherwise known as Seaweed Holistics. After approval of the permit, Seaweed Holistics expressed concerns to the city in their financial ability to implement prior to operation the necessary changes to their storefront to meet the public safety license standards for a cannabis storefront window pursuant to condition of approval number 9, and to afford to pay the $4,080 of outstanding reimbursement fees to the city for processing the cannabis activity permit pursuant to the condition of approval number 18. In effort to support the new business and to help ensure council's desires of having 6 cannabis businesses in Pacifica, the city offered the option to enter into a deferral agreement with Seaweed Holistics to amend these conditions of approval. The purpose of the deferral agreement was to delay the timing of these pre-operation conditions, thereby allowing time for Seaweed Holistics to generate the necessary funds to implement the conditions of approval. Staff consulted with Seaweed Holistics to ensure feasible timing for the deferment, and the agreement was executed in September 2020. A provision of the agreement was to require Seaweed Holistics to seek Planning Commission approval to formally amend the specific conditions of approval to reflect that compliance would be satisfied after commencement of operations. The amendment to condition of approval 19 creates a schedule. The proposed amendment to condition of approval 19 creates a schedule with milestone deadlines for Seaweed to proceed with the new window modifications if the amendments are approved by Planning Commission. The language would allow staff to provide additional time to Seaweed Holistics in the event a special order of materials required such time. The amendment to a condition of approval number 18 would allow Seaweed to pay the outstanding fees associated with processing the cannabis activity permit and creating the deferment agreement and processing this amendment within 60 days of Planning Commission's approval of the amendments. The project description of the cannabis retail operation and the findings used to support the conditions of approval of Planning Commission Resolution 2019-31 would not change, with the exception of details relating to the timing of the first floor storefront window improvements and the timing of payments for outstanding and applicable fees associated with processing the project. Current references in the findings related to conditions of approval 9 and 18 do not detail the specifics of the timing for the implementation of the conditions of approval. Therefore, no revisions to the findings of the cannabis activity permit from those made in the Planning Commission Resolution 2019-31 would be necessary. The amendments to the conditions of approval would also have no impact on Planning Commission's finding that the project is eligible for a Class 1 California Environmental Quality Act exemption for existing structures as detailed in Planning Commission Resolution 2019-31. The requested amendment of the conditions of approval 9 and 18 would make non-substantive changes to the cannabis activity permit to allow Seaweed Holistics to operate so that revenue can be generated while minimizing potential adverse impacts on health, safety, and welfare of the community. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the amendments to conditions of approval 19 and 18 as described in the staff report. Staff does note that the proposed amended language for condition of approval 19 as detailed on packet page 24 is incorrect, and references to the proposed amended language for the condition on packet pages 20 and 26 is correct. And if approved, staff would correct the language on packet page 24 to be consistent with the other references of the proposed amended language. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor. Are there questions for Ms. O'Connor from commissioners at this time? I'm not seeing any questions at this time. I actually did have one question, and really pertained to, how 60 days was selected as a timeline for payment of outstanding fees. And also just curious about whether or not it might not be or something that staff maybe considered maybe creating some flexibility there to even afford some additional time so that the matter might not have to come back if there was any sort of good reason to kick that timeline out.
We chose 60 days just as a proposal, and as noted in my presentation, we consulted with Seaweed Holistics to make sure that our timelines were feasible for them to meet. When entering the agreement, they provided us agreement that was the right timeline, so that's where we landed.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. What we'll do then is go to the applicant, I guess, in this case. That's our practice, and see if the applicant has anything that they want to state with respect to this this particular matter, assuming the applicant is here with us.
Yes, Chair. I promoted the Zoom account, Anna Williams, and so we'll have 10 minutes from the beginning of any presentation they'd like to make.
Great. You say Anna Williams?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, Ms. Williams, please go ahead if you'd like.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Seems we got a couple of devices logged in. Sorry for the feedback.
Turn volume off. That's why I had my volume off.
I'm going to try that again and see if there's any more. Can you tell her to just tell her? Can you? Sorry, guys. One second.
I think you good.
Okay.
You good.
Anyhow, I did prepare just a few words for you all today, and if you don't, I'll get to it. Good evening. My name is Anna, proprietor of Seaweed Holistics. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. It is one of my ultimate goals to be able to operate my business in Pacifica and contribute to the general health of the community. While Seaweed Holistics is open conducting business, it is unfortunately not yet where we projected it would be at this point, 5 months in. I want to say that I recognize the reasons behind the requirements of regarding our storefront window. However, meeting that financial component of the project would send me or any other new business into great financial hardship at this point, making it extremely difficult then to come out from under that setback. This business is not only how I make a living for my family, but I also have a grave obligation to provide the means for my staff to do the same. It would cost us anywhere from $45,000 and upwards to complete this project based on the quote from that we got from the vendor, and about 6 to 8 months to complete. As of now, we barely make enough to break even and to pay our employees. And I do heavily credit the kindness of our vendors for allowing us to do business with them with net terms. As a struggling business in its infancy stage, I am counting on your ability to weigh the points made tonight to see our honest plea for consideration to allow us to defer the project to accommodate for the time frame for manufacturing of materials needed and to give this young business a chance to earn the funds necessary to complete that. I realize, yes, I'm not the only person or business affected by the aftermath of this pandemic. I know that we all have been affected in some way or another. So while I want to take a moment to thank the City of Pacifica for their support in allowing us to open, I also want to call to mind the potential financial value we bring to the community and the mutually beneficial relationship that can be had. I did not address the time frame to be able to pay the fees that were mentioned by Ms. O'Connor. And I do feel like that 60-day time period is, while we went into this agreement in late fall of last year, not knowing really how the business would run during the pandemic, I thought that 60 days would be ample time to be able to meet those obligations as far as the old fees associated with the project. But I still feel that maybe that would be still achievable at this point. So I give the floor back to you. I suppose if there's nothing, did you want to say anything? This is Tony, by the way. This is Tony, my husband.
Hi, I'm Anna's husband, Tony, and the co-founder of Seaweed with her. And I would just hope that we can continue with our initial agreements that we made with the city before on our payments of debts owed. Unfortunately, we did get behind on some payments, but we are in a better situation now. Our business is currently picking up. It is getting better weekly. We are current on all of our tax payments with the city currently, and we would love to just continue the initial agreement that we had initially put into place so that we can move forward with this.
Great, thank you. Is that what we have from you all today? Well, sounds like that's everything. Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission. Are there any questions for the Williamses at this time? Yes, Commissioner Berman.
Yes, I just wanted to confirm it seemed fairly clear in Ms. Williams' presentation.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Sorry, I had to.
Can you hear?
Yes, please, Commissioner Berman, go ahead and continue with your question.
Ms. Williams, I just want to confirm that you are okay with the timelines presented in the staff report and the revisions to the.
I think you broke up a little bit.
So, Ms. Williams, I think what Commissioner Berman was asking is whether or not you are good with the timelines that are laid out in the conditions that we're talking about this evening. Want to confirm that?
I feel like we are.
Yeah, we're having a real challenging time.
Within the 60-day time frame, you mean specifically? Yes.
I think there were a few timeframes mentioned in the COAs. There's the 60-day timeframe, and then also after building permit issuance, there's 2 weeks to construct the improvement, with the exception of course, delays due to product purchasing. I just wanted to confirm it sounded apparent in your presentation, but just because I know there's several timelines in this COA, and I'm not sure if there was a prior agreement that you're referencing.
That would be my own concern here.
Commissioner Berman, it looks to me like you might.
Ms. Berman, is that towards, you're posing that question to me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Now, it's easier to hear now, yes. So just to quickly restate my question, just for clarity.
Sorry. Okay. So the only concern that I have There's a delay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe you turned off your video. We might have an easier time hearing you.
Okay, we'll try that.
Yep.
Okay, I'm still here.
I think that's better.
So if I may.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. So my only concern is that that everybody understands that there is a backlog and delay in the manufacturing of a custom window that we have proposed that we were going to erect or establish to meet the requirements. I have submitted the quote from the vendor, and it's changed over time. And the latest, if I'm not mistaken, the time frame for them to complete such a job is anywhere between 6 and 10 months. That is where I would hope that the commission would be understanding, especially due to the pandemic and how things are backlogged or just not happening at this point. I know it's how should I say, it's there's been a relief a little bit as far as what type of businesses can operate and to what degree. But again, just based on the conversations we've had with Dialed Glass folks, that, you know, there is a significant time associated with this, on top of how long it normally would take such a job. And I have no idea as far as how much the building permit for this job is going to take, and I'm, 3 days from the time it's told to me. I mean, depending on how much it is, I could say yes right now, but if it's, it's in the thousands, I have no idea how much these things cost. And I say yes because I would like to be able to do that within that 3-day period.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like one of the primary concerns is for the ordering of materials. Just kind of throwing that question back to staff. Ms. O'Connor, I see in the COA revision for COA number 9 that there is a statement about extending the timeline due to special ordering of materials. Can you please confirm that that statement addresses Ms. Williams' concern?
Yeah, we had some expectation that a special order for the window may be necessary, and we didn't want to put that against Seaweed Holistics. And so the language in the deferral agreement, as well as mirrored in the proposed condition of approval language for condition number 9, states that with appropriate documentation to show that the delay is due to a special order, both parties can agree for additional time to allow that manufacturing of materials to occur.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Berman. Is that it for the moment? Okay, we'll go to Commissioner Godwin then.
Hi, my question is for Ms. O'Connor as well. Wasn't it true in May of 2019 when this agreement was made that it would have taken a long time to manufacture this window? And wasn't this a well-known problem for the last year and a half?
You're saying May of 2019. This cannabis activity permit wasn't approved until September of 2019.
Okay, let's go from the September 2019 date. That's still about a year and a half ago. And at that time, as a person who's ordered windows, custom windows have always had a certain lead time requirement.
I can't speak to the point, and maybe Anna can speak to that question of when she first researched potential manufacturing timing for a window, but this requirement for the window size is a requirement that occurred prior to approval. So it was always a known requirement, but I can't speak to when she investigated and determined the lead time for the window.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, how come you didn't take care of this a long time ago?
Not that I didn't try to take care of this issue long before the fact. It was, I had to prioritize as well that I still also needed to get approved by the state. So I wanted to make sure that that was the case first. Otherwise, it would have been a moot issue, at least in my mind. So I needed the approval first from the state to be able to operate such a business, and then deal with this issue.
And if I might add, Commissioner Godwin, this is Mr. Williams. We've been occupying this space for about 7 years now. We owned the business prior to our current business here. So we've been in this location for a while. And when we put in the application for us at the time.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Godwin, any other questions?
Yes. I would also like to know, this seems like a fairly modest amount of money for an operating business. Why is this such a big hurdle for you?
Well, Commissioner, it's a big hurdle for us because we are a genuinely small business. And we, to be perfectly honest, don't have the money. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of things have changed as far as business is concerned. And unfortunately, we weren't eligible for any of the small business loans or any of those things that were put in place to help small businesses. So really, we've had to pretty much carry this business ourselves on our backs for the last 3 years while we actually waited for this permit to get processed. So to be perfectly honest, we didn't have the money.
And yet you have adequate reserves to run this business with a high degree of confidence.
No, we do not have reserves. We have been, I guess for lack of a better word, blessed enough to be working with, like I mentioned before, kind vendors to allow us to deal with them on a net terms basis, and even extended the 30 days to 60 days for some.
And yes, to add to what you said also to Commissioner Godwin, honestly, we feel that the business model that we've created here will do very well here. And we do feel very confident in running the business here and the business being a big success here.
That was my last question.
Thank you, Commissioner Godwin. Commissioner Hauser.
Chair, I'm wondering if we might have the benefit of hearing the public comment before we ask more questions. I think there's one.
I think that's probably a good idea. I do see that there's at least one hand raised. Murdoch, could you see if we have anybody who wants to address the commission on this matter?
Yes, Chair, I see one hand, and so I'll get a comment. A Grape in the Fog, please go ahead.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. This is Beth Lemke. I'm the owner of A Grape in the Fog, and I am a neighbor of Seaweed. And so I've known Anna and Tony through their journey of, trying to get open and, jumping through all the hurdles and everything. And I'm attending this meeting in support of them. Like I said, I've been, their neighbor through this journey, and absolutely what Tony mentioned, that because of the, status of their company, being a cannabis related company, while it's legal in California, they still are kept out of receiving any sort of funding that some of, including my own business, was able to receive, whether it was the EIDL loan or the PPP. They were not included in that. And if I understood correctly, I know Anna's presentation was sort of, we didn't get to hear all of it clearly, but it sounded to me that the custom windows are going to cost them something around $50,000. That is a huge amount of money. I'm not sure what, I don't really understand what Commissioner Godwin was saying about that not being a large sum. That's enormous for a small business. From my own perspective. And bottom line for me, again, I'm on this call to support Tony and Anna. They have a very tasteful, really a beautiful space, and they are in business to, be an asset to the community, and I believe that they are. And anything that would stop them from being able to move forward with their business would really be, would be unfortunate and would be, unjust, I think. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any other comments on this matter?
Yes, Chair, we have another hand raised. Stacey, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Stacey, and I own Pacifica Massage and Wellness. I am located fairly close to Seaweeds. I will also say I'm in support of this business. I think Beth said it really well. Really tasteful, business. It's reputable. Everyone is so nice, and I kind of came in late to this meeting, but I think I know the gist. And I also do believe that probably the amount of glazing that's going to be added is what in relation to $50,000 for the window to be put in the first place. So I don't know, as a small business owner as well, $50,000 is a lot of money. And like I said, I'm just calling in support of the business. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. Mr. Murdoch, any other comments, please?
Yes, next we have Deborah Patterson. Please go ahead.
Hi, I am the owner of the Pacific Java Cafe. So it's on the same area as Anna and Tony. And again, just hearing support, probably exactly what Beth had said, just in support of Anna and Tony. They're a huge asset to the area as well. And I understand that this is all business that we're talking about, but they are a huge asset to the community, constantly, cleaning up, doing little things, doing beach cleanup on their own. Their little store is absolutely delightful. It's always clean, it's presentable, and I'm just here in support of them. And we have been devastated by the shutdowns, and as a small business owner, we're reeling, absolutely reeling. Some days we were losing money, but in order to stay viable, you stay open, so that people don't forget that you're there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Mr. Murdoch, do we have any other comments?
Yes, Chair. There's a hand raised. Judy Hanson, please go ahead.
I'm sorry again. If I speak for this situation, am I allowed to speak later tonight also?
Yes, ma'am. You can speak once as to each item.
Okay. Well, I want to speak on behalf of this business on multiple levels, but one is that I'm a teacher and I've taught the children how there used to be mom and pop stores all over the place and how they gave way to the big box stores and how that if we don't support them, that they won't be there and that people used to be able to support a family on their business, but that, you know, as they go to just be employees, that they can't. And we're a beautiful, beautiful, unique, amazing community that is in a position to be leaders, which I'll address later. But when I tell people that I'm from Pacifica, it's with a feeling of pride that we're unique and so beautiful. And I would like to see us coming together as a community to support this business and listen to how can we help you to be successful? How can we hear the challenges that you're going through? How can we rally behind what it must be like to be trying to exist? It's hard to exist as a person in this COVID situation. It's hard to be anybody at any age. It's affecting us all, but the small businesses are being squished out like an unwanted entity. And so I ask us as a community to congratulate these small businesses for having the guts and the tenacity to stay open and try to be a live, thriving business. So I just want to thank them for their effort and their contributions, and ask that we as a community really listen to not what it's like in the past to get a window, in the past to run a business. This is a unique historical time, and it's going to take adaptation to help us all get through it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Are there any other comments?
I see no hands raised right now, Chair.
All right, we'll go ahead and bring the matter back to the commission for discussion and perhaps ultimately a motion. Are there any commissioners who want to speak at this time? Commissioner Hauser.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say that I appreciate that the business community has come out to support their kind of partner business. And I appreciate that staff has given a recommendation, to approve this. I think it holds a lot of water. And, prior to being on the Planning Commission, I spent a lot of time on Economic Development Committee, talking about how important it is for the, few local businesses in Pacifica to really have an opportunity to thrive. So I'm in favor of approving this motion. Also, obviously, the applicant can use whomever they want to make the window, but I also appreciate that they're using Dial Glass, who's a local Pacifica business as well. So I think in the spirit of everything that the community has talked about and that Ms. Williams has talked about, I'm happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hauser. Commissioner Godwin. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw your hand there. I don't see other hands, but I'll say that I'm in the same camp as Commissioner Hauser. I've here at the county in my capacity been spending a lot of time on trying to figure out ways to use whatever legislative and emergency powers we have to sustain local business and sort of fill in the gaps where we can to ensure, to the extent we can, ongoing viability. My primary concern, frankly, was just making sure that that staff has maximum flexibility that they need to, or that they want, I guess, to sort of address the situation such that it doesn't need to come back at any point if, in fact, something happens. It's unanticipated sitting here right now in the next, 60 days or whatever timelines we'd be talking about. If staff feels like, that they've got what they need in that regard, then, I'm happy to support this this item as presented. So with that, if somebody wants to make a motion, I would entertain one. Commissioner Berman.
I'd certainly like to make a motion, but I'm actually curious if staff could actually literally answer your question that you just presented, and maybe advise if there's any other flexibility that maybe could be incorporated into these COAs, because it is a hard time right now for any construction, but especially small business construction and funding. So I'm wondering if staff knows of any other potential flexibilities to the COAs presented, or if this is where the agreement stands.
Well, I'll send that over then to Ms. O'Connor and Mr. Murdoch to address.
The language that is in the staff report is representative of the agreement that the city and Seaweed has entered into when we entered into an agreement. And as Anna, I think, mentioned in her presentation, it was a timeline that everybody was comfortable with. So I think from staff's point of view, this is where we like to be. But I think if Planning Commission wants to talk about something else, I mean, that's maybe your position.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. We certainly, myself personally, I don't have any interest in sort of, undercutting or working around staff. If staff has what they think they need, I just want to make sure you all have the flexibility you believe you need, so that, for example, we don't have to have the item come back. It is somewhat time consuming for you and for others. If there's something we could do to avoid it, if it becomes necessary, of course, we're happy to entertain it. But it was more in that spirit that I was asking.
Yeah, I think, Chair, the key thing is that having some type of deadline for performance is important to staff, as Ms. O'Connor indicated. That's within the discretion of the commission to determine what that timeline is. I think we have built in the timelines that were mutually acceptable to the city and to Seaweed. And for the most part, there are reasonable timelines from the city's perspective for performance on those things that are largely within Seaweed's control. And we've built in flexibility for things that are outside of Seaweed's control, for instance, manufacturing of the window. And so we feel as though we've strike the right balance. But again, it's up to the commission to decide.
Thank you. Commissioner Berman, did you have more to say about that?
Yeah, I'm wondering, did Ms. Bazzano I saw your hand raised.
I just wanted to support what Mr. Murdoch and Ms. O'Connor was saying, was that basically the deferral agreement was entered into between both parties after negotiations. So the timelines that are set forth in the deferral agreement were thought out and given considerable consideration for the factors that would be involved. But as Mr. Murdoch said, of course, the deferral agreement does not negate the Planning Commission's ability to make adjustments to the conditions of approval. So if the Planning Commission wants to make adjustments, that's within your discretion. But of course, we base the timelines in the deferral agreement, as I said, after negotiations were complete.
Thank you, Ms. Bazzano. Commissioner Berman, anything further?
No, I'm ready to make a motion if there's no other questions.
Please go ahead.
All right. I move that the Planning Commission approves the amendment to Cannabis Activity Permit CAP-8-18 to modify the requirements of resolution number 2019-031 of the Planning Commission of the City of Pacifica related to the timing of first floor storefront window modifications, conditions of approval number 9, and payment of outstanding and applicable processing fees related to the CAP, condition of approval number 18, by adopting the resolution included as attachment A to the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Berman. Is there a second to Commissioner Berman's motion? Commissioner Hauser.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Well, we have Commissioner Berman's motion with respect to the amendment to CAP 818 and Commissioner Hauser's second to that motion. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Berman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Godwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Leal.
Yes.
Commissioner Niblin.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I think the next item then, no, I don't think I know, the next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing, TUP 1-20. This is file number 2020-013, temporary use permit, TUP 1-20, filed by Iglesia Ni Cristo to operate a church within a tent erected beneath an existing covered arena structure for a period not to exceed 6 months at 650 Cape Breton Drive in Pacifica. The recommended CEQA action at this time is NA, not applicable. Probably tied to the fact that the recommended staff action is to continue the item to a date to be determined. Can we get a staff report on this item, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Deputy Planning Director Christian Murdoch. As noted in the staff report, we're continuing our work with this applicant and have identified additional information needed to determine whether the application would comply with the Pacifica Municipal Code. And so we've relayed those informational requirements to the applicant, and the applicant has indicated that he is working on gathering that information to present to the city for our review and analysis. And so the timeline for preparation and submission of that information to the city is not known. And so until we have a clearer picture as to the timeline, we didn't want to continue the hearings to date certain and to perhaps bring along interested parties with really an unclear picture as to whether the hearings would actually be conducted. And so we will send out public notice again when a hearing date seems to be viable after reviewing that information from the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. So the only action, again, for consideration by the commission this evening is to continue the item to a date to be determined. We don't have a set date as yet in light of the fact that there's informational requirements that are outstanding. Are there any questions for staff with respect to Mr. Murdoch's report? Seeing Commissioner Berman, please go ahead.
Not necessarily a question, but when we do get to public comment, given that this item is mainly for the continuance, I'm wondering if the commission might want to consider reducing the amount of time for public comment to either 1 or 2 minutes, given that it's just on, people should only be commenting on the continuance of this item.
Thank you, Commissioner Berman. The thought had occurred to me that we might maybe even split the baby on sort of what you were suggesting, maybe suggest 90 seconds, perhaps a minute and a half. We'd had a similar conversation in the context of the last continuance of this matter, and that is that we're primarily, again, the only action that we as a commission are taking this evening is whether or not to continue the item. Obviously, anybody who wants to speak to the item is entitled to, and frankly, there's really not much we can do to sort of limit the range of comment, but recognize that we have heard a lot of comment about substantive concerns. We've gotten a lot of written communication, I think all of us as commissioners, about the substantive concerns. So we're well briefed at this point on some of the, I think all of the substantive concerns, at least, that have been communicated to this point. And we'll be having a very fulsome and fully fleshed out conversation about the substance of the matter when it's actually agendized for our consideration and action. So all that said, I tend to agree with you, Commissioner Berman, that perhaps we could see what our colleagues think. I think as the chair would just go ahead and make the determination, but I'd be interested in knowing if how other folks feel about Commissioner Berman's suggestion. Anybody else care to speak to it?
Sure. I support Commissioner Berman's and your suggestion as well. I would support 1 minute over 90 seconds. I'm not sure that you would need that much more time to talk about continuance of timing, personally.
Commissioner Leo, thank you.
I was going to say I support the suggestion. Either a minute or 90 seconds is fine with me.
Thank you. Commissioner Hauser, did you want to speak further to it? Okay. I appreciate that a minute's probably enough on some level, although, again, it's something we're kind of doing a little out of the ordinary course. I think I'm going to opt for 90 seconds and allow folks the opportunity to speak to that extent. Recognizing, again, that we are, again, well briefed on many of the concerns that have been raised. So we'll go ahead and go to public comment. Mr. Murdoch, I see that there are at least a couple hands raised. I'll go ahead and ask you to identify speakers as they raise their hand.
Thank you, Chair. We will start with Erin Macias.
Please go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Macias, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Planning Commission and staff, my name is Erin Macias, and I would like to comment on Christian's report. 650 Cape Breton was sold in December of 2020. The former owner is listed on the TUP with the church as their agent. The contractual relationship between the parties should have been terminated upon the sale of the parcel, and the TUP is no longer applicable or valid. The city has the required documentation, what they normally require for a permit application of the new owners to demonstrate the parties are authorized to enter into agreements, and ask the church to apply for a new permit since the conditions are no longer temporary, but a permanent use of the parcel for church use. The city of Pacifica has different categories of use permits. A church falls under 9-4.2306 of the municipal code as a special use permit. The temporary use permit is not applicable at all. The church representatives have made it clear they intend to use the parcel for a fully operational church site, and they intend to operate their business office at the site as well. I would like the Planning Commission to carefully consider what is on the documentation on file and recognize the lack of appropriateness for this parcel. It is inaccurate, it's incomplete, and it has the wrong permit application. They are no longer a temporary tenant of the former owner, but a new parcel owner with the desire to change the use of the parcel permanently from equestrian and build a permanent church structure and accompanying supportive spaces, which should require a completely different permit application and a full environmental impact report. Please perform the proper due diligence on this project and the application, because this application does not comply with the use permit categories as defined in the PMC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. Mr. Murdoch, next speaker, please.
Next is Chris Redfield.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Chris Redfield. My abbreviated comments, I'm going to say Pacifica has had a stable environment here for decades. Many of Pacifica's buildings and homes in specific areas were built with either no planning or afterthought accommodation. This may be one of the youngest planned developments since incorporation. These parcels work in this location. With my abbreviated comments, I would say that it would seem that this process is only a formality to the applicant. It appears a possible foregone conclusion given the tactics. We all know the cash donations per se that have been presented. I find that is influence peddling, and that seems to be the MO of this organization. Pacifica city officials need to be the alpha stallion and not become geldings in this process. The neighborhood in Pacifica deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redfield. Next comment, please.
Lori Yap, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to comment. Sorry, I can't get my video to play on your Zoom link here. I just want to say that this is very frustrating, even though I'm sure you're doing your due diligence, it looks like, by continuing this and, looking at this proposed temporary use permit to make it compliant with the Pacifica Municipal Code. However, I think what is frustrating, I know to me and the neighbors I have talked to, is they're unsure what to do and how to oppose this because it keeps getting continued. They read through all the application materials, which do seem to lean in favor of the new owner, can't figure out why they don't seem more impartial and whatnot. So I think just this whole process is new to so many of us, and we don't know how to stay on top of it and just being anxious on a daily basis of what's going to happen and are we going to miss anything. So I just want to comment on that's the reason these continuances, I think, are so frustrating to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Ms. Yap. Are there any other comments at this time?
I don't see any other hands raised, Chair.
Great. Well,
yeah. Scratch that. Judy Hanson, please go ahead.
Thank you. I want to appreciate the leadership that we're having and that we get to share and we get to speak. My biggest concerns is that these are really unique times for humanity. And had we been able to go back, whatever, 200 years and build societies and communities in a sustainable manner, we wouldn't even have our roads going along all these valleys. We'd have beautiful little creeks and salmon coming up them. And we're in a lot of trouble. The earth will go on, but we may or may not, seriously. And the valley used to echo with frogs at night, and the people need nature to be able to sustain themselves and feel good. And I asked the leadership here tonight, I'm sorry, I can't see the timing, to really step up to the plate and make a stance for the futures and let us somehow have that valley to be natural and a way where we can have an outdoors church for nature where everybody's in harmony and feeling the good love of nature and the sustainability that we've set aside for the future so that they too might someday hear the frogs echoing again throughout the valley. And thank you very much for this time and please think long range and to the 7th generation even. My best to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Mr. Murdoch, any other speakers at this point?
I'm not seeing any, Chair. There's one dial-in participant. Remember *9 if you'd like to raise your hand to speak.
Well, I think what we'll do then is go ahead and not seeing any other speakers, we'll go ahead and bring the matter back to the commission. And again, I guess I'd reiterate again, we are going to consider this matter on the, not that we haven't already been considering it in light of the many comments that we've received in both written and verbally, but we'll be at a time certain. I think that's one of the good things about the particular motion we're looking at is that it's a date to be determined. So we'll, by the time it gets set again, we'll be at a place where we are actually more certain that we'll be prepared to consider the matter on the merits. So I think we're in a much better place with the particular motion we have here at this time in light of the totality of the circumstances and the various concerns have been raised. So any further discussion by commissioners? And if there isn't any further discussion, I'd entertain a motion. Commissioner Hauser.
I'll make a motion to continue the item to a future date as determined by staff.
Excellent. Well, that's Commissioner Hauser's motion. Is there a second to Commissioner Hauser's motion? Commissioner Ferguson.
Yeah, I'll second that motion to continue.
Great. So we have a motion to continue to a date to be determined by staff and by Commissioner Hauser and seconded by Commissioner Ferguson. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Berman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Godwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser. Commissioner Leal.
Yes.
Commissioner Niblin.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the next item for consideration is it's actually consideration. It's an item for consideration of appointment of a liaison to the Library Advisory Committee. Could I get there's no this CEQA action on this is not applicable. And the recommended action of staff is that we appoint one commissioner as liaison to the Library Advisory Committee. I'll ask for a staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. The commission and the community may recall that now City Council member Tiger Jazz Big Stick and previously Planning Commissioner Big Stick was the appointed liaison from the Planning Commission to the Library Advisory Committee. With his election to the City Council, not only is his Planning Commission seat currently vacant, but his appointment as Planning Commission liaison is also vacant. And so we are looking for one commissioner to participate as the Planning Commission's liaison. This might be the one to sign up for in that there's no currently scheduled meetings, and for the foreseeable future, there are not likely to be any. And so this might be your community engagement opportunity on behalf of the commission to take this liaison appointment. But in all seriousness, we're hoping to get someone on the Planning Commission has a valuable role should this project move forward when it does to advise on land use related matters and just general matters as a member of the community as well.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Commissioner Ferguson.
A quick question before I raise my hand for this. Is there a restriction as to proximity to this project like there is with most other commission matters?
So I'm going to ask Assistant City Attorney Bizzano to opine on that. I don't know offhand, given the advisory capacity, whether there's a conflict of interest concern related to your role as a resident of Sharp Park, for instance. And Commissioner Leal, that would similarly apply to him, I would imagine.
I'm sorry, could I ask Commissioner Ferguson to repeat the question?
I wondered if volunteering as a part of that advisory role would have the usual restrictions as to proximity to the project?
No, this is the library. This is the library liaison committee, right? So this would be citywide.
But there's no problem with living close to the site.
Right, no.
Oh, there we have it. Commissioner Ferguson, anything further?
In that case, I'll volunteer.
I'm sorry?
In that case, I volunteer.
Well, I think by acclamation, we should just thank you for your willingness to volunteer. Do we need a vote on this, or can we, or should we just go ahead and take a vote on appointing Commissioner Ferguson to the Planning Commission? Because I'll certainly make the motion that Commissioner Ferguson be appointed if someone's willing to second that.
Well, it's the chair's prerogative. So if you agree with Commissioner Ferguson's serving as the liaison, you're able to make that determination as the chair.
I'll exercise my prerogative. Congratulations and thank you so much for your willingness to serve. It's actually a very important function, as Mr. Murdoch stated. So again, thank you very much. I guess one of the things I should state also with respect to the couple of items that we approved is that anyone aggrieved by action of the Planning Commission has 10 calendar days to appeal the decision in writing to the City Council. If any of the above actions are challenged in court, issues which may be raised are limited to those raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing, and judicial review of any city administrative decisions may be had only if a petition is filed with the court no later than the 90th day following the date upon which the decision becomes final. So,
Chair, if I could, before we move on, perhaps we could seek public comment on this agenda item as well.
Oh, goodness, you're right. Sorry about that. Before I guess before we tie a ribbon around that, is there any public comment on the appointment of a liaison to Library Advisory Committee?
I am seeing no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. And thanks for the reminder on that. That takes us then to commission communications. Are there any commission communications? I'm seeing none. I'll then ask if there are any staff communications.
Not this evening, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us then to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Leal.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion to adjourn? Commissioner Godwin.
I second the motion.
Great. So we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Berman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Godwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Leal.
Yes.
Commissioner Niblin.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Well, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.